So we're seeing that since Harald has made his deal with the Gorosei in becoming a god blade, as well as integrating the Giants of Elbaf into the Marines, it has like positively changed the reception of the Giants and Elbaf around the world. Like people in the newspapers are reading all the positive things that the Giants are doing with the Marines and stuff, and they're like, oh, I guess the Giants are pretty cool. So that actually worked in Harald's favor. That's why he's doing all of this, to repair the bad reputation that Giants have around the world. It's also at this time that he decides that he's going to stop Elbaf from being a warrior nation. Like, no longer are they going to have to fight or do anything like that. The only way that they are going to fight is if they want to join the Marines. Like, he says that specifically. But other than that, it's like if a giant becomes a pirate, I guess, then they'll fight or be a warrior or whatever. But he doesn't mention that because I guess he would disavow that anyway. But this lines up with what we see of current Elbaf. Like, when the Straw Hats get there at the beginning of this arc, it's kind of like a twist, I guess, that they're no longer a nation of warriors and that they're all like scholars now, or at least the kids are. Like, that's what they're building the kids up to be. And Saul, talking to Harald here, says, but ain't you afraid you've lost something here, Harald? And Harald says, I don't believe that military power is what makes a country strong anymore. It's like, I guess that's easy to say if you have like a nation of giants that's also really hard to get to in the first place. But he chalks all of this up to him meeting Ida, who like completely changed him, because before that, I guess he was more like Loki, maybe even worse than Loki. And speaking of Ida, she dies, which is not a surprise. She was poisoned by the Brewers village in the previous chapter, the village that Loki's mother comes from. After she died, they were like scared that Ida was going to become the new queen of Elbaf, because even in this chapter, Harald says that he's trying to make it so that they can legally marry because, you know, she's not noble or whatever. It wasn't going to work originally because of that, but it's like Harald is the king of Elbaf and he's the strongest guy there. It's like, who's really going to stop him? But I guess it doesn't really matter anymore, but we'll get more into Harald being strong. So then we're coming to a year later after that, and this is 14 years ago. This is actually when the flashback starts. And Harald goes back to Mary Joie to meet with the Gorosei because they're going to make him a holy knight now. And that's because Shanks went MIA. Like, he was about to complete the last mission that he needed to become a holy knight, but then he just dipped out. And that's understandable because Shanks only went to Mary Joie for some information, I guess. We saw in the previous chapter that he was like undercover essentially, like acting like he wanted to be a holy knight, getting close to Shamrock, probably Garling too.
Shanks probably left because he presumably got whatever kind of information that he was looking for there, because a year after this at Elbaf, when he's talking to Scopper, he says that he wanted to talk to Harald about something in the Holy Land. He couldn't, so he'd like to talk to him about something in Elbaf before it's too late.
Which is also coincidentally a great time to leave, because if he did become a holy knight, he would be completely screwed, as we're going to come to find out. Hey, also guys, can you please subscribe if you haven't already? We're almost at 300K. I think we can get there before the end of the year. And if you could do that, I'd appreciate it so much. Thank you guys. But of course, Harald accepts this offer and he gets to meet Emu. So he goes to the empty throne and he sees Emu there and he's like, holy crap, somebody's sitting on the empty throne. Oh my God. And Emu gives him like the next level up tattoo that makes you like a holy knight, because we found out in the previous chapter that there's like 3 levels to being like the highest level of the world government, or being like the highest level of Emu's servant. There's the Shallows Covenant, which is like what made you the God Blade, what Shanks and Harald and Gunko originally were. Then there's the Depths Covenant, which is what makes you a holy knight. And then there's the Abyssal Covenant, which is what probably makes you a Gorosei. So Harald gets the Depths Covenant here, and he's like, oh, this power, it's surging within me. So it definitely made him stronger. And you gotta wonder at this point, like, how strong is he at this point? Because he's also gaining, like, immortality, I guess, like that regeneration that the Holy Knights have. But considering that he was already on par with Rox, who was implied to be the strongest, I mean, I guess you could debate who's stronger between him and Garp and Roger, but it was probably Rox. If you add even more power to that, I'm assuming Harald is even stronger than the Gorosei at this point. Actually, I'd put money on it, because the Gorosei aren't as strong as you think they are. I mean, they're pretty strong, of course, but I don't think they're as strong as Harald is right now. But Emu winds up telling Harald to put an abyss circle inside the throne room in Elbaf. So he goes back to Elbaf and he does this for Emu. And then Emu like starts telepathically talking to him. And they're like, mobilize the entire nation and form a grand army of warriors. The giant warrior fleet will stand alongside the Marines and serve the world. And Harold's like, whoa, no, wait, no, that's not what I want to do. Actually, that's going against everything I've been working for here. And then Emu's like, yeah, well, you can't disobey me anymore because you agreed to the Depths Covenant, and gaining that power means you can't disobey me. So this goes into Harold being a very flawed, tragic character because he essentially made a deal with the devil here, unknowingly. He tried to save Elbaf, tried to rectify their history of violence or whatever, but wound up, mistakenly making a deal with the devil because he thought he was doing the right thing. I guess it goes into that whole thing about the path to hell is paved with good intentions or whatever, but I also think this is probably supposed to parallel to Emu's story. Like, once we get Emu's flashback, I think it's going to be very similar to this. Like, Emu was trying to do the right thing for the world or whatever, and then wound up making a deal with the original devil, who is probably like the moon dragon or whatever, like that thing that we see on the mural in Elbaf. Also has something to do with that book that Emu has. People are calling it the Grimoire. Then Emu probably became like this evil devil person because of that, and they originally probably weren't like that. Just a theory, nothing's confirmed yet. Now Harold can't control himself because, as we've seen before, this is like what Emu does. Harold's like, guards, chain me to this pillar and get Jarl and my sons here. So Loki gets freed from the prison because he was put in there because he took down Brewer's village for poisoning Ida in the previous chapter. Jarl is just at his house. And then we come to the final panel when it says, the day of the castle massacre, when Elbaf's most beloved king, Harald the Malevolent, lost his life. So I guess in the next chapter, we're going to come full circle here, and we're going to see Loki and Jarl coming into the throne room and all of the guards stabbing Harold, because that's how it started. So I guess Harold's going to be like, this isn't good enough. I'm going to need you guys to stab me now. Because I guess Emu started to Dami reversing him or something. Because that seems like that's inevitably going to happen here. And then it's going to lead to Loki fighting Harald, Jarl getting stabbed in the head with the sword, which he still has in his head to this day. Someone's going to try to take the legendary fruit of Elbaf, which I guess is probably going to be like a holy knight or somebody that comes through the abyss circle. Loki's going to eat that, and then Harold dies by Loki's hand. And I guess it's going to be like a real sad emotional sequence. And that's probably where the flashback is going to end, because that's what Hyrurin asked of Loki in the first place. He was like, explain what happened in 3 minutes. Now there's also another thing that I wanted to discuss real quick, and it's Shanks defeating Loki, which happens like 8 years after this, because I think it said 6 years ago Shanks defeated Loki or something. That's how he wound up getting chained to the Atom Tree. So it's like, wow, Shanks is pretty powerful, because in theory Loki is going to wind up defeating a Dami reversied Harald. Even if Harald wasn't Dami reversied and he just had the Depths Covenant, like the Holy Knight powers, he's still fighting for #1 pound for pound next to Emu, right? I mean, he is so unbelievably powerful. And I only bring that up because I really wonder if we're ever going to see that. Because like I said, this is probably where the flashback is going to end. So I don't think we're going to see Shanks versus Loki. We'll probably hear more about it, but that's about it. Let me know what you guys thought about this chapter in the comments. If you liked it, please give it a like, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.